Part 1. Witch, Evil, Sinner. They spit their judgment at her as she's dragged through the town. She passes many of whom were strangers to her, but some not. She saw some women that had at some point confided in her. They didn't speak up on her behalf, but at least they didn't sneer at her like the others. Some of the wives saw her as a temptress for their husbands, at least one of which had tried to sully her. He now bore a prominent scar over his eye. She had been terribly gleeful that he was forced to keep the story behind that scar a secret, lest he reveal he had been bested by a woman and had trespassed on her property. They arrive at the mechanism that would take them down to the pit. The hole in the ground was too deep and slick to climb out of and offered no protection from the elements and no privacy, as anyone in town could look in at you. It was reserved for the worst offenders. When they reached the bottom and forced her out, she took in her surroundings and thanked the gods it would be some time before winter. She did not know how long her imprisonment would be. She just hoped it would be over soon. Part 2. Before, her loathing at the town's unjust disdain and ignorance towards her settled like ice in her stomach. Now it was a roaring fire at their cruelty and no doubt desire to see her perish. What food they chucked down was tainted, and when she tried to rest, she'd be lucky to not wake to the pain of rocks thrown into her prison. And that pig that tried to sully her had dared to piss on her while she slept and laugh at her. She had been in the pit for some time with only the occasional rain to sustain her. Her time was growing short, but she refused to go quietly. She prayed for vengeance, for a way to strike true fear into these people. Soon she received an answer. She was weak, but diligently worked to arrange many of the rocks. She found one that was perfectly sharp. She hardly felt any pain, and covered some of the rocks with her blood. Tired, she yearned to close her eyes, but she felt she needed to stay awake and huddled in the center of the formation and waited. Part 3. A woman came upon her first and screamed and called others to the pit. Outraged and with definitive proof that she was a witch, the growing crowd demanded that she hang. She grinned viciously, somehow knowing they wouldn't get the satisfaction. She closed her eyes as she felt a change within her, and when she looked up, her surroundings were peaceful, devoid of the noise of the crowd. Those above her grew quiet, unnerved by her calm demeanor. Then bodies started to fall into the pit one after the other. They were terrified but frozen in place. They couldn't even speak to warn others not to come near. They were forced to witness their fellow man bleed out on the ground below, while she sat amongst them. To her, when they fell, they bloomed into flowers, nourishing the ground with their blood. Without speaking aloud, she declared that all who had fallen were hers now, and if any dared to take them from her, they would regret it. She took the sharp rock to her neck, and the crowd was finally able to turn away and lament as she bleed out with a content look on her face.